What's going on, guys? PowerGPU here. Today I'm actually going to be showing you guys how to actually set up OBS properly. Now, I know a lot of you have been out there asking me, Power, what are your settings? What are you running? Your stream looks really good. It's running smooth. Now, keep in mind when setting up OBS, it's actually going to be different for everyone. So let me jump right into it to kind of give you an explanation of how OBS actually works. So here, this is actually on my gaming machine right now. I went ahead and downloaded OBS. One reason why my stream looks really good compared to others when I'm streaming PC games is because I actually have a dual box setup. So my main rig is my actual stream box is running an i7-3960X. That's literally dedicated just for streaming. And then I have my gaming PC, which has an i7 with a GTX 1070 in it. And the reason why I did that is because I actually wanted a more clean, more smooth stream when it came to PC gaming. You could definitely stream off one rig. It just requires a little bit more power, and you run into some issues here and there, some hiccups. So if you ever want to do and have really good quality PC streaming, the best way to do it is dual box setup. Some people like to still go with AMD Ryzen's for single PC setups for streaming, which is still fine. But just in my personal opinion, if you have the money, if you have the funds, definitely do a dual box setup. Jumping right into OBS itself. So I just downloaded it real quick on my gaming rig just to kind of give you an idea how everything works. So first thing you can do is pretty much, here's OBS. Plain as day, simple, no scenes, no anything in here. First thing you want to do is you want to go down to settings. Now under the stream, of course, it's going to ask you to put in your stream key, which you could find under Twitch itself, under settings, which would be under the dashboard, settings, scroll down, let's say stream key, click on view, and you can hit reset just to kind of do it from there. When you first start it up, though, you're going to want to select your server, which is actually a software you could download to actually ping where the best server is. For me, I went ahead and just chose Virginia since I live in North Carolina. It's very close. Sometimes I'll switch from Virginia to Texas. It just really depends. But as of right now, I have it set to Virginia, which is the standard. Moving down to output. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused. If you're a first-time user of OBS, even if you're an experienced user of OBS, keep it under simple. This actually is pretty much all you need. And I'll explain to you the differences real quick. So right here under video bitrate, I have mine set to 6,000. Now, video bitrate is going to be based off your internet bandwidth, your horsepower on your PC as well, because the higher bitrate you have, the more it's going to use as far as processor goes, or GPU, depending on which encoder you have it under. So let's say you have, I'm going to explain it to you best way scenario. 2,500 bitrate is pretty much 2.5 megabytes per second. Okay, so let's say you have 10 megabytes for upload, right? If you leave it at 2,500, you're technically using 2.5 gigs out of that 10 that you have uploaded. I have an upload of 25, so me leaving at 6,000 will be using 6 megabytes out of my 25 out of my upload. So I have more than enough room to actually mess with it, which for you non-partner streamers out there that are affiliate, 6,000 is your limit. I will only recommend 6,000 if you actually have the actual encoding with Twitch. So it allows you to do, your viewers are allowed to actually switch between 160p, 380, 480, 720, and 900. So I would make sure that you actually are able to do that before you put it at 6,000, because some of your viewers won't be able to actually watch your stream if they have, let's say, DSL and they only have 2 megabytes of download speed, or 3 or 5 or something like that. They're going to be eating up all your bandwidth just by watching your stream. So safe bet to do is I would leave it around 3,000 bitrate. If you're not sure, you should have at least 5 megabytes for upload. I would say nowadays you should have at least 5. So that's something to toy around with. You want to mess with that. You first want to do a speed test on your internet to make sure what your upload is too as well before you start messing with that. Moving on down to encoder. This is actually where a lot of people get confused. So X264 is actually to be the software base. So it's going to be using your CPU to actually encode OBS itself. Hardware NVEC is actually going to be for your GPU. So you could do this with an AMD GPU, or you can do this with an NVIDIA GPU. So this is good if let's say you're running a game, and let's say, here's a scenario which I've had a lot of streamers have this issue. Let's say you have an i7-4790. You have it under X264, and you're trying to, say, stream Destiny 2. Or Fortnite. Those are 2 CPU-bound games that use a lot of CPU power. If you switch it over to hardware, it actually starts putting the stress on the actual GPU and not the CPU. So when you're actually streaming, your CPU usage is going to be a whole lot lower and you're not going to drop nowhere near the amount of frames that you would if you were using X264. So that's pretty much the difference between these two. GPU, CPU. GPU, CPU. Audio bitrate you could leave at 160, and then recording path, that's up to you if you want to record anything, which in my case, I put it at MP4, so that way if I ever want to export it to, let's say, Adobe Premiere, it's a lot easier. If you have it under FLV, Adobe Premiere is not going to be able to recognize it, so MP4 is the way to do it on that. Don't worry about that warning. It's not a big deal. You don't have to worry about it. Audio, leave at default. Pretty much you want to change your audios as far as your desktop device and your mic as well. You want to put it under your whatever your mic is for that. So this stuff you could that's easy stuff. You could mess around with that and you could look up videos on that. It's very easy. Under video, now this is where a lot of people get confused as well with the output and stuff like that. So the base canvas resolution, that's actually just the actual resolution of your OBS screen. So that's actually this. So this is 1920 by 1080 right now. So if I transfer over an image that's 1920 by 1080, it's going to take up the whole screen. If I transfer over an image that's, let's say, 1280 by 720, it's going to be half of the screen. You got to blow it up and match your canvas. So you can leave that at 1920 by 1080. Moving down to output scale, this is another thing where it comes, a lot of horsepower is required, depending on the resolution you choose. And you want to match with your bitrate as well. I will never, ever recommend you to stream at full 1080p. So you should never have this at 1920 by 1080, ever. Because even if you put it at 6,000 bitrate, that's still barely enough power or enough bitrate to actually have a nice quality stream at 1080p. If you want to do a good quality stream and you have the horsepower to do it, what I'd recommend doing is having it at 1600 by 900 is pretty much the limit, the highest that I would ever go. So remember, 1600 by 900, you could do 1280 by 720, that's what I'd recommend doing if you're a first-time user. Do 1280 by 720 so you can kind of see where your stream is going, see if you're dropping any frames, see if you have any issues. Downscale, you can leave it at default, 16 sample. You're not gonna. That's fine. That's standard. Moving on to FPS. So I have mine set to 60. So again, this is another thing. If you switch it from 30 to 60, again, you will notice another increase in CPU performance or in GPU usage as well if you have it under NVEC. So all these little things like resolution, bit rate, and frames per second, your FPS, all that stuff is actually going to put more. It's going to be more taxing on your actual stream box or your actual gaming/streaming rig. So if you're a first-time user and you're not sure, I would probably leave it at 30. 720, 60 would be fine. You might be pushing it depending on your PC performance or hardware you have. So let's do an example real quick. Let's say I have an i7 7700K. This is an example only, guys. So I would leave it at 720, 60. That's good. And let's say my upload is about 10 megabytes. So what I would do is mess around with it a little bit. I'll probably put it at 3500. I'll leave it at that, 3500. Once you do that, pretty much you can start adding your scenes, which the best way or the easiest way, let's say we just want to add a scene. Let's say we call it Destiny 2. I know some of you are like, oh, but Destiny's dead. I got you. Don't worry. Let's just add a scene real quick. Okay, so let's say I'm playing Destiny 2 on PC, right? Let's do window capture. Actually, no. We can't do window capture with Destiny 2. Let's do display capture. So we already have one that's existing. So bam, there's my display. Showing multiple. Whoa. So there's my display capture. And let's say I want to add a camera. Let's do this. Let's do camera. Oh my God, who is that? That's not my camera, by the way. I don't use the webcam, but this is just an example. Just an example. Let's say I have it there. Bam. So now I have my game. I have my display capture right there. Man, that camera's horrible. I don't use the webcam, guys. I use an actual Canon camera. That's why I don't use webcams. They look bad. But just a prime example. That's simple. That's simple as that. You can minimize the OBS now. You can hit start stream once you put in your stream key, and you can start gaming away. Now, as far as if you want to get into more detail and actually have a green screen and do all that stuff as well, I might have another separate video for that. This is just a very fast how to basic set up OBS, you know, within minutes. And as far as the actual like settings where, you know, when you start doing fade transitions and all that stuff, I'll show that in another video. But that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you guys did, make sure to give it a like. If you guys are enjoying my YouTube videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and on the right-hand side, hit that notification. It actually gives you a notification when I post videos on there as well. Another thing to do is I stream 5 days a week. At the bottom, I'm gonna leave the links. Make sure to follow me on Twitch, on Twitter. If you have any questions, definitely DM me or join the Discord where I answer as many questions as I can. As for all the people I have in there, we're almost at 500 members in there. It's growing fast, which I do appreciate the support. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.